Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us to this first ever parent panel conversation. So we're going to be chatting to everybody a little bit today about back to school and what that means for elementary school age kids. So I'd like to welcome our panel. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Nicole Byram. I'm the Health Promotions Manager and Dietitian with the Canadian Celiac Association. And to my left, who it might be all in different order for us all on the Zoom call, but Lisa is to my left. So Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lisa Rigney, and I am from I'm the program coordinator at the Edmonton chapter of the CCA.
Great, and then I've got Carmen, who's next.
Hi everyone, my name's Carmen. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, and I have a daughter who has celiac. She's the only one in our family, greater family with celiac, and she is almost 13 tomorrow.
And then we've got Tina.
Hi, I'm Tina. I'm in Newfoundland. My daughter is 5, Charlotte, and she was diagnosed about a year ago with celiac.
Okay, so why don't we chat a little bit more about that? I'll start with kind of my story. Many of you who will be watching this tonight are aware that I have 3 daughters, and my middle daughter Julie was diagnosed with celiac via biopsy, and that she's 11 now, and she was diagnosed when she was 5. So Julie's story, my mom has celiac disease, and we didn't think Julie had celiac disease in actual fact. She was not presenting with what we would call the typical symptoms. But in hindsight, I think I was missing some of the typical symptoms. Julie appeared to love pasta, breads, fishy crackers, all that kind of thing, and never complained of upset stomach, never complained of any GI issues at all. But she was having terrible skin rashes, and her dentition was being affected. So took her to the doctor and said, do you think this could be celiac? Should we let's have her tested. And her numbers were high. So it was Christmas Eve, we found out, and she got a biopsy that February. So, and it came back, they came out of when the biopsy was over and said, it looks fairly positive. So, but you can continue eating gluten if you want to until the results come back. And we went home and immediately went gluten-free. Lisa, I'll ask you to share your connection.
Sure. So I have 3 kids. I have 1 girl and 2 boys. And back in the summer of 2017, my oldest daughter, Laura Lee, and my youngest son, Ryan, were exhibiting symptoms, but not that I knew it was celiac disease at the time, but there was gastro symptoms. They were both complaining a lot of tummy issues, especially Laura Lee. So in September, just after the summer, I took all 3 for a visit to the pediatrician, explained what was going on, and we had a really good pediatrician at the time. So she did mention, for some reason, she did mention celiac disease at the time. I remember her saying it. I didn't know very much about it, and she sent both Laura Lee and Ryan's gave them a blood requisition and to get them tested. So basically, 2 days later, we got results back from Laura Lee to say that her numbers were quite high. I think she was 400 or some such number, and Ryan had a low IgA number. So the decision then was the pediatrician sent a referral to the pediatric gastroenterologist at the Stollery Children's Hospital. All my kids were to continue eating a regular gluten-free diet, and we got a appointment for early December 2017. So that day I took all 3 to the hospital, and when I left, I had Laura Lee was diagnosed with celiac disease based on her blood work and also a genetic test which confirmed that she had the gene. Ryan was also genetically tested. He had the gene. We were told that he was to go on continue on a gluten diet for 6 months, and then he would undergo the biopsy a number of months later. So what happened was so I left the hospital, 1 child going on a gluten-free diet for life. The other one was to continue on a regular diet. And then we took Ryan back to the hospital a number of months later. He had the biopsy, and his villi were fine. So he's just one that we need to monitor and get checked every couple of years.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Carmen.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my daughter, Rosie, she's almost 13, as I was saying. She was diagnosed when she was 7, probably had some gastro issues for a couple of years, but mild, like stomach aches, random stomach aches. But in retrospect, a lot of anxiety and a lot of just crying. To me, I feel like in retrospect, a lot of it was behavioral with her. She was also very tired, but nothing serious. She was always at the top of her growth chart. She ate so much food all the time and I had never heard of celiac disease. I just knew something was not right. We thought it could be just anxiety from school that made her stomach hurt. We went to a pediatrician twice. And I remember him saying, oh, it could be gluten, but you could try taking it out and see. And I was like, well, and we half-heartedly tried that. But, when someone says that, you're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And anyhow, so then finally, when she was in grade 2, I guess, she was crying in the morning, and it had happened a few times in the morning, which before it was always in the evening. I said, okay, we're going to the doctor right now, because it used to be we'd go to the doctor and there were no symptoms at the moment, right? So the doctors always kind of dismissed it, especially because she was quite tall and healthy, everything. So then our family doctor was like, okay, well, I don't like to prick kids, but let's send her for full blood work. And that came back positive a couple of days later, and the doctor called us at home and said, okay, it's positive for celiac. And I had no idea what that was. And she said, let's send her to the gastroenterologist at our local, Eastern Ontario Children's Hospital, GEO. And we went there very soon after. And the doctor was like, she doesn't have celiac disease. Look at how tall she is. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Sounds good to me. And he's like, she's probably constipated. I'm like, okay, I didn't think so, but sure. And he put us on Restorelax. And then he said, but just in case, I'll do one more panel because our lab is different. And I was like, okay. They called us and said, oh, her numbers are through the roof. And I was like, okay. So that meant 2 positive blood tests by this time. Yes. And they said, let's do the biopsy. And we didn't have to wait long. Results were celiac. And so we had to learn it because nobody I even knew had celiac. My sister had some gluten issues in the past, but they were okay. Our entire family was tested. No one else was positive. And so she's been gluten-free since, obviously.
So Tina, let's hear your story.
Well, my oldest, who is not celiac, when she was probably 3, started having some stomach issues, and we went through a couple of years of doctors, and we saw a GI specialist, and it was constipation, and we were on PEG and we were off PEG and we were on PEG, and they did x-rays and ultrasounds. We did naturopath, and then just all of a sudden it was gone. Just never really did know. She grew out of it. It's one of those things they'll never explain. So my youngest is 2 years younger. So at about the same age, she started the same thing. So we did the same. We went to the GP. We went to the GI specialist. She's constipated. We had x-rays. We did PEG. Oh my God, the money I spent in PEG alone. But I never felt like that's what it was, but that's what they're telling me. So we did it. We had blood work. She was fine. She wasn't anemic, but she was really tired. And my husband kept insisting that her belly was distended. I said, she's just she's a little pudgy kid. She was only 3 and 4 at this time.
Yeah.
So she looked normal.
Yeah.
She was a happy, like she would eat you under the table. So that wasn't the issue. And I never thought, it never seemed to coincide with a particular food. I did watch to see if anything bothered her, but it was just a random, we never knew. So her belly hurt and she was tired. So we were pretty much nowhere. So 2 years in, I'd say my GP, now I'd been to the GI guy a couple of times already. GP is like, let's do another set of blood work. My oldest had been checked for celiac a couple of years before. She had come back negative. She said, I'm going to add it in anyway. We're going to check it again. We're going to check her iron levels again. A couple of weeks later, I get the call. Yep, her levels are up. So we have a possible, let's do the biopsy. And the biopsy came back positive. No, there's no history. But we had no clue. I was totally surprised. So I should say, I was going to say hit the ground running, but we just hit the ground. So then it was a lot of research and just to see. So then she says, and by the way, everybody else is higher risk now. So all the first degree relatives, go do your blood work. So it turns out, woo, me too. Yeah. So within, I think 3 to 4 months, I was diagnosed as well. And nobody else in my family.
Isn't that interesting?
And as far as I would have said, I've never had a symptom of celiac. I've never had stomach issues. I've never struggled with any sort of GI issues. But it turns out now, about 8 months in, and I had all psychological issues. So my insomnia, anxiety, and depression are gone.
Oh,
and I do notice with Charlotte that she's a different little kid. She's happy. Yeah. She's still a toddler and she's still mean to me sometimes. But she's a happy little kid. So it made a difference for sure.
So ladies, this is August 24th and we are entering back into the school year. So what are some tips and tricks that you have learned? So first of all, do you have kind of a back to school routine? So Carmen, I'll start with you this time. Do you have anything when your daughter goes back to school? What's your routine?
Sure. I'll just backtrack a little bit. When Rosie was diagnosed in grade 2, we did a little presentation for her class about celiac, and we watched a little video. We had just some information sharing, and then we passed out little pieces of paper of food types to the kids and had 3 buckets of, this is gluten-free naturally, this is something you need to check, and this is definitely full of gluten. We played that game, which was fun. And then we brought in some Doritos because it made, like gluten-free doesn't mean you can't eat some great kid junk food.
Right.
So we passed out the Doritos, and that was really great. And that was grade 2. She's now going into grade 8. And since then, what I do on an annual basis with the new teacher is print out the teacher's guide from the CCA website and make sure that each of the teachers have that, as well as the office. And I'm also very vocal. In fact, one year I asked them to add her picture to the allergies. They usually have pictures of the kids with allergies on the front door, because I just felt like for a year they were passing out a lot of treats at school. And, Rosie was able to say, no, I can't have that. But I felt like they needed more awareness. I only did that one year, but it's an option, right? Yeah. And I tend to pack a Ziploc bag of little treats that the teacher can keep in the classroom, just in case there's an occasion and someone brings in food that she can pick from. I don't think she ever used it, but I've been doing it every year. And I do try to talk one-on-one with the homeroom teacher on the first day or the second day of school as well.
Okay. Lisa, what kind of routine do you have for back to school?
So I'd reach out to whoever is going to be teaching Lorelei for the year. So, and similar to Carmen, I'll give out the teacher's guide from the CCA, 100%. I love the idea of the game. That was really cool. What I also do is, when Lorelei was diagnosed when she just turned 8. So at the time, like, she was quite young, and I wanted her to understand in simplistic terms what her diagnosis meant. And I also wanted her classmates to understand that too. So I went onto Amazon and got, 2 or 3 books, read them with her first of all, and then sent them into school for the teacher to go through. So just so everybody had an understanding of what it meant to have celiac disease. And I did have a lot of communication with the teachers, throughout the year, depending on what was going on. I probably communicated with them a little bit more at the very beginning when she was younger. Now that Lorelei is 11, she's almost 12, there's a little more self-advocating.
Right. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Tina, what about you? So you guys are a bit more recent in this journey. When was Yeah. So when was your daughter diagnosed?
I believe July of last year. So just in time to get ready for school.
Right.
and it was kindergarten.
Yes.
And COVID.
And
So
COVID.
everything was completely different anyway. I couldn't go into the school. I couldn't talk
Right.
face to face with anybody. Luckily, our teacher, she was an angel. That's the only word I had for her. So we talked a lot beforehand, and I sent her a bunch of stuff to read over and explained. She wasn't really knowledgeable about it to begin with, but she just wanted to know to keep Charlotte safe.
Yeah.
So I got constant emails from her on, this is what we're doing. We're going to have this class, and I was going to have, because in kindergarten, there's a lot of sensory stuff. So there were times where she couldn't participate in certain things if they were using, they did a taste test one day, and she messaged me, is this okay? And she would send pictures of ingredients of things, or is this okay to give her? Yeah. If not, what else can I do? Yeah. For Easter, we were in a texting craze because she was buying Easter goodies and sending, is this okay? Can I buy this one? How about this one? Because she wanted everybody to have the same. That hasn't always worked out. There have been times where she has to go into the little goodie bag, because I have sent in treats, and it's kindergarten, so they get a lot more treats than the older crowd would. I've had to replenish it a few times. They also have a breakfast club at the school 3 times a week, and that's not always a safe option for her either. So there's stuff there to replace that. I'm confident that if there was ever any concern on what she could or couldn't have, the teacher would ask or call. And also, you're not getting anything by this child, because she will not eat anything unless you guarantee that is gluten-free. So she is strong, and she knows, and she can't read, but she will ask you, is it gluten-free?
Love it. I love it.
She's adorable. And she can for the most part. And we stick to familiar foods as well. So she knows the brands that she can have. We also had an issue with Play-Doh. We had to ask the school, she can't play with Play-Doh, because I wasn't, although again, with COVID, everybody's getting cleaned a lot more. But I wanted to avoid the contamination there too.
I get gluten-free stickers from, a label making company, whatever company you want to do, or if you want to just take a Jiffy marker yourself or a Sharpie. And everything, when she was young in particular, the ladies with more older kids, they're more able to advocate for themselves as well. That was one of the things that when Julie was first diagnosed, I first ordered those. So I got those on board, made sure everything was labeled. The communication with the teacher was always a written email and then a conversation when we could have conversations face to face. We have the conversation with the teacher. I always CC the principal on every conversation, so that she knows that this is serious. And if Julie needs to go home, Julie needs to go home. There's no question marks about that. I work from home, so she's able to. Now that brings us sort of to the conversation with you guys of, if your child gets exposed to something at school, what do you do? What is your plan? Tina, we'll start with you. We're
COVID era. So, yeah. I mean, you answer the phone immediately if the school calls. Yes. And if we did have an issue last year, she had some candy that she shouldn't have. But she doesn't really seem to get very symptomatic. She will complain for a couple of days that her belly hurts, but there's no vomiting and diarrhea. It's just an overall me. So when she did have that, I didn't find out till much later. But the plan is with any illness, if she's sick, and again, they're much littler for me. So they're sick, they immediately call us. If I can't get off work, my husband can't get off work, I have nannies and poppies.
Yeah.
So, and there's permission slip signed that I think I have 6 other people that are able to pick my kids up if I need it. So it's not really an issue. Yeah. There's somebody there if it's needed.
You're good to go. Ladies, Carmen or Lisa, do you have anything different or any different plan of attack?
I would like, as I said, Laurelie's 11, she's going on 12. So I suppose she is symptomatic. So if she does get gluten, we know all about it. She'll gut-wrenching pain. There'll be tears. She'll get very upset. So I suppose I've taught her just to speak up. So if you're in school and if you feel unwell, and if it's not going away, and if 10 minutes have passed or 15 minutes passed and you're still feeling that way, speak up, go up to your teacher, go to your EA and let them know because they will be aware through me that, you know, she and through Lorelei that she has celiac disease. There was only one occasion where I got the phone call that she wasn't well, and she was in the office, and I had to collect her. So yeah, I would agree what's been said before. I think the key is know your child, have them speak up and advocate for themselves, and have somebody there to be able to pick them up if needs be.
So we've mentioned, a couple of you have mentioned bringing treats into the classroom and having kind of a store of treats ready should there be a birthday celebration or some sort of treat given out for prizes in the classroom. So my daughter is definitely one of those kids who loves to win a prize. And if somebody brings in cupcakes for their birthday, she really wants to enjoy them. She doesn't like feeling left out. That's been one of Julie's biggest struggles with this, is the feeling of being left out. And we're going to get to that conversation a little bit later. So one of my big goals as a parent is to ensure that the teacher has something for Julie that is of equal or greater value than what would be presented otherwise. So I'll go with Julie to the grocery store and I'll say to her, what do you want to be in your stash in the teacher's drawer? And she'll get to specifically choose out a few things. And the teacher's on board, and she keeps Julie's little Ziploc. I get one of the big Ziploc bags and we keep all of her stuff in it. It's all dated. So along the line of food, one of the biggest chores as a parent is lunch making. Whether it's gluten-free or not, lunch making can be a burden. So what are some of your go-to items, or what are some of your kids' favorites? Carmen, let's start with you.
For sure. I would say when she was first diagnosed, so when she was around 7, the big thing in grade 2 and 3 were thermoses. So we did a lot of leftovers, and I found that was really easy because some of the gluten-free bread is tough to eat cold. And since then, you know, as they get older, she did start asking for sandwiches more. So in the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot more sandwiches, and I find the bread has come a long way. And what I do is I always keep our bread in the freezer, and in the morning pull out the frozen bread and make the sandwich on frozen bread and put it in the Tupperware. And it's usually quite good by the time they eat. So sandwiches, thermoses, and of course, lots of veggies and fruit and rice cakes. I did try to have a little system because, as you said, it's such a chore to make lunches. And I used to do Monday is parfait day, and there's these little Tupperware containers where you can put the yogurt, and then a little cup where you can put the granola. And I would get that ready at night, and I would throw some frozen fruit in it in the morning. And so they could just dump that granola in. And that worked well for a good year. Monday was granola day, but then they got tired of it. And Fridays would be rice cake with wow butter. And they liked that. Because, if you have a system, it works better. But sometimes the system falls apart and you just end up giving them whatever you got.
Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar stories. My kids tend to like the same things roughly every day, so it's not very exciting. So for Lorelei, who's my celiac child, she, I found these sandwich buns and these hamburger buns actually that she likes to eat. So I find that I have to remind myself to take them out of the freezer. So you lose that bit of spontaneity and so she'll have some, sandwich meat on that. She'll eat pepperoni, salami, fresh fruit, veggies, yogurts, granola bars, energy bites, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of planning involved. I think there's just that little bit more planning with regards to the gluten-free diet as opposed to the regular diet. And taste change, or don't rule something out because it was refused once. Try again.
Tina, what have you had success with?
Well, on the other side of your don't give up on something, I would say also don't get super excited about something, because they'll say, oh, this is good, mommy. I'm like, okay, it's on sale. I'll buy it all. and I'll stock up on it because I figure, that'll get me 2 months worth of lunches, and a week and a half into it, I don't like it anymore. So I'm left with extra, which is a huge nuisance. But they're not adventurous when it comes to lunches most times. Both of them, they want cereal, they want pasta. Pepperoni is a big one here. We don't do the prepackaged lunch stuff, but I'll do crackers, cheese, and pepperoni. And there's a complete difference between September mom putting lunches together and June mom putting lunches together. Because in June, if you're not getting dog food, so how many cookies do you want? And it was, I try to let them pick, because I feel they're more likely to eat their food if they decide what they get versus here it is, eat it or go hungry. Yeah. So usually every morning it's okay, what do you want for lunch?
Yes.
I wish we could use the school lunch program, because some mornings it would be lovely to just wake up and here's $5, go eat. We don't have that option with her. So it's a packed lunch every day.
Yeah. So I would actually like to chat about that, but I'll just give my experience with packing lunches. So Julie, I always have, as Lisa or Carmen, one of you mentioned, I always have fruit and veg. Julie loves carrots and cucumbers and peppers. She is a picky eater. She loves mandarin oranges. So when they are in season, you talk about buying a lot of something. We've got mandarin oranges coming out of our ears because they're easy. You just throw those in the lunch, 2 of those, and then she can peel them. So that's always kind of a set play. We'll do a thermos. She loves, if we've had pasta, she loves leftover pasta the next day. So we'll do that. That's a win for Julie, with a little thing of Parmesan cheese on the side that she can sprinkle on her lunch. That's always a huge win. Occasionally, if we've had a pizza dinner the night before, whether it be homemade, whether it be, a freezer pizza, that cold in her lunch the next day is always a win as well. Cheese strings are often something that I'll throw into. I'll have that's easy to put in. I this month in my newsletter, I had how to make my banana chocolate chip muffins. So I make mini ones because mini ones I find are great for lunches. I did a recording and it's on YouTube now of my picnic basket granola bars, and those are a great item for lunches. So I will have muffins and granola bars in the freezer at all times. I'll make double batches of everything and then keep it in Ziploc bags in the freezer. And again, that's just something for me. It's about what's going to be quick and easy because evenings around here are fairly chaotic. Also taking Julie to the grocery store is a sign of something as a dietitian I've taught over the years, taking your child to the grocery store and giving them the option of what would you like? What do you want in your lunches? Let's buy it and choose it. And, we can even do online grocery shopping now. Her and I will sit down and I'll say, okay, what do you want for your lunches this week or for the next kind of 2 weeks? A couple of you have mentioned hot lunch programs. So our school doesn't have a hot lunch. We don't have a kitchen. We have a little pack kitchen. So the parent advisory council has a little kitchen that we'll do hot lunches out of on a Monday. With that sort of program, Julie's able to participate if I know that it's going to be from a safe place. But on the days that there isn't anything for her, which there are days that it's hot dogs and buns and the hot dogs aren't gluten-free and the buns aren't gluten-free and that's all that's offered, I'll just, she'll get an extra special treat in her lunch that day. So we'll kind of try to balance it out that way. What's your guys' experiences with hot lunches? Lisa, I'll start with you.
So our school, they do a hot lunch program, but it's once a month. It's the Friday of Friday monthly. So in the past, they didn't have it in the last school year. What I find is that we'll go through what's offered, and sometimes it's quite limited. And if there's nothing there, which is safe for Laura-Lee, generally what we do is as a family, we decide, okay, if Laura-Lee can't have it, then I tend not to get the boys hot lunch as well. And that's completely individual. That's something people can decide as a family. And what we do is because it's a Friday, then we can do something special Friday evening.
Tina, what about you?
Well, like you said, we do have a lunch program. So every single day you can order something from the cafeteria. Okay. Currently they bring it, you don't eat in the cafeteria, they bring it to your classroom. But Charlotte's never asked really. She just knows she can't have it. So I'll order her juice or milk because she can have that. And really there's nothing else. And I'm actually quite disappointed in the program because I had tried to contact them a few times this year because they have a couple of things listed there, like fruit bowl. Like, would there be anything? Is that a prepackaged fruit cup? Like, is that safe? Because I'll order that. I mean, it's more money than it would cost me to buy, but if she gets it from the cafeteria lady, it's exciting for her. And I can't get a response. So I have no way of knowing it's safe. Oh, there's bags of chips. I can get chips.
Okay. So moms, talk to me a little bit about your child's, so Laura Lee, Charlotte, and Rosie's acceptance of their diagnosis and how they've managed their diagnosis, more on an emotional, do they feel singled out? Have they experienced anything negative emotionally from other kids? What's their experience been of having celiac? Lisa, let's start with you.
So Laura Lee was 8 when she was diagnosed, and she's had ups and downs, like what you would expect. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. A number of months after she was diagnosed, she was still exhibiting symptoms. So I would have been contacting the Stollery Children's Hospital here, the dietitians there, to see what I needed to do. So it suggested that that she may be reacting to dairy, because that's quite common, I believe, in the early days. And to be honest, when I gave Laura Lee that information, that was actually almost worse than telling her that she was going to be on a gluten-free diet for life. Her face changed color, the blotchiness happened, and the tears came. So, and that she went on we went dairy-free for a couple of months, and then we reintroduced, and she was fine. She's quite a strong character. She's very resilient. I've made my own boo-boos in the sense that, again, in the early days, she's quite athletic, and she's has been playing soccer for a number of years. We were at a kind of a wrap-up party, and I completely forgot to put something into my bag, some gluten-free snack in my bag. And I don't expect the people who organized it didn't know about Laura Lee having celiac disease, and it's not up to them. It's up to for them to make sure that there's something there for us. So it was completely my fault, and I could see she got a little bit upset, etc. But for the most part, with regards to other children, she's never had any negative experiences. She's surrounded by very good friends who are very supportive of her. So for the most part, things are very good for her. She has her down moments. We had an experience recently where I think we were making tacos, and we were using the soft tacos. And we were actually camping, and I'd forgotten. And normally what I do is when I use the soft tortillas, I put a piece of kitchen paper over the tortilla, spray it with the water, and then heat it up. And that seems to make it more foldable. And I'd forgot to do this when we were camping. And I handed her her taco, and it started to break apart. And you could see the frustration, and I felt the frustration for her. So I think that there will, she manages it quite well, but there will always be kind of ups and downs. I feel for her.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Carmen, what's your experience been?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Rosie was, when she was diagnosed at 7, she really resented it. And for a while, she kept saying, well, I just want to cheat. I just want to cheat one time a year. And she kept going on about that. And she was one of these kids that was invited to every birthday party. Like sometimes she'd be the only girl at a boy's birthday party. And she stopped wanting to go to birthday parties because she knew she'd, have to bring her own items. Or sometimes, like you said, some parents can be very accommodating, and they would try to give her something. But, there was one instance where she got a plain chocolate cake, and all the other kids had this beautiful ice cake, and, it just wasn't good enough. And she really felt sorry for herself for a number of years. Now that she's 13, I feel like this year is the first year where she really is okay with it. Like we were at my mom's, and my mom's generally quite good at accommodating, and she made a German potato salad. We're German, and my Rosie loves the potato salad, and I said, "Oh, you didn't use the broth with gluten, did you?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot." My mom's older, and so I thought that Rosie would be really devastated to not have the potato salad, but she's like, "That's okay, Mom." And I was like, "What?" So it was quite a surprise to finally see that. And her friends have been pretty okay. I feel like they forget about it and they'll talk about a lot of food that she can't have. But I don't think there's been any meanness or anything. But one kid that's very unfiltered was like, "Oh yeah, gluten-free food is all bad." And I kind of gave her a look, because really that's not the truth anymore. And it was just a rude thing to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tina, what about you? What has Charlotte's experience been?
She's young enough that, like, when we made the transition, all she knows is it doesn't hurt now. So, and we've also, like, if it's out there, I bought it. If she wanted to try it, I ate it. If there was a substitute, I bought it. She probably ended up buying too many treats trying to compensate for it. So now I'm trying to dial that back a little bit. But my family are super accommodating. So she has safe foods when she goes. She's being babysat at anybody's house. There's a safe place for her. Christmas dinner was 100% gluten-free by my mom. They embraced it. This is what we're doing. This is how we live now. So she says, "I'm glad we're gluten-free because it doesn't hurt." So she also thinks it's funny that I'm also gluten-free. So we're twins now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And sometimes, like, we'll have gluten-free day. So me and her will go to, there's a local bakery that does ice cream sandwiches she likes. So we'll go, that's a treat because it's a little bit on the pricey side. So I'm not buying it for the kids that don't need it.
Yeah.
So me and her will go, and it's fun because we're the gluten-free gals.
Love that.
There's been a couple, because, whenever somebody tells you can't have something, there's going to be some ups and downs. So she didn't get a cupcake at school. She did get a treat, but she didn't get a cupcake. Yeah. And there was, what was the other? It was an ice cream. So there was 2 ice creams and everybody else had the fudge stick, I think it was. And she had to pick a popsicle. It's not devastating, but having been there when, I'm at work and the first time I had to say no because I can't eat it, it's sad at the time. But in general, she's 5 and she will get right in your face and tell you that she is gluten-free and it tastes good and she's happy and I love my treat, and the teacher has a bag of stuff for me. So with all that support around you, she's just a happy little kid. Now, when we hit the teenager, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's another panel we're hosting the university, the kind of the teen early 20s panel. That's a whole other time period of their lives, right?
Yeah, that scares me a little.
That's another conversation for another time. I think you hit it on the head, Tina, when you said the word sad. That's what I see in Julie's face when something's presented that she either feels is too risky or can't have. It's just this sadness that comes over. Like, we'll be out for dinner and the French fries on the menu will say GF, and I'll ask them and they'll say, no, they're actually done in the same oil as, the fish or the chicken fingers. And Julie's face will she just looks so sad, and she'll look at me and she'll say, well, what am I going to have? So dining out is a really big obstacle for us. We tend to go to the same places quite often where we know there's something for her that she enjoys that's going to be a treat for her too, because going out for dinner is a treat. Mm-hmm. So that there's going to be something there for her to enjoy. I think that she's learned over the years just to, she's got her coping skills that she relies on. And when something comes up that she can't have, she'll just look for the alternative. And sometimes the alternative isn't as much fun. And sometimes she is going to feel a little bit sad. And I can't remember which one of you ladies pointed it out, but we'll try to make up for that later in the day. So at this stage in her life, so we can't have it now. She's able to understand that. She feels sad. She feels a little bit down. She feels left out. She feels possibly a little bit isolated from everybody else who's enjoying it. But later on, as a family, we're going to make up for that. And we're going to give you something, whether that's going through a drive-through and getting a sundae, or maybe it's something different. Maybe it's going to the library the next day. And because Julie, her favorite place in the world is the library. She absolutely loves it. So going just her and I to the library is a big excitement for Jules. So doing something just really special to make up for it, we find has been really helpful. Has there been anything about celiac disease that has empowered your kids? Julie, I will just say sort of off the top, she's spunky, my Julie. And the education of this has empowered her. So she now knows a lot more about physiology. And she knows, and I think it's made her more empathetic for other kids who have either allergies or anything else that they have going on. She knows what it's like now to have something on board. And for her, celiac disease is on board with her. So whatever another child has on board with them, whether it be an allergy or whether it be, anxiety or depression or autism or anything else that they're carrying with them on a regular basis, Julie now has a greater amount of empathy for. Doesn't mean she can understand exactly what they're going through, but she knows from her experience what it's like to carry something with you. So it's given her a greater depth of empathy, which I really admire her for. Have you guys experienced anything that you've seen with your children?
I think that Laura is probably similar to Julie as well. I agree with regards to the education aspect and kind of understanding your body more and the level of empathy. I've also said to her, look at you. You're a master food label reader. Like, how many 11-year-olds do you know that can read labels as well as you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I think that's it. Not only the celiac disease diagnosis, there's negatives to it clearly, but there is positives in the sense that knowledge is power, and it also it opened up my eyes as the food shopper, as the grocery shopper. Like, prior to Lordy's diagnosis, I went in and I was literally I knew what I needed to get. I could actually close my eyes and do my shopping, and then obviously that changed overnight, and it made me look at products differently, and it makes her look at products differently now. So we'll sometimes I'll sit down and we'll look through an ingredients list and go and compare it to something else and go, look at that's got 3 ingredients in it, and that's got 20, and I have no idea what 17 of those ingredients are. So I think that, yeah, I think there is positives to it, and I do think that in Lordy's case, like Julie's, it's there's a huge learning curve, and it's also teaching others. You're teaching your friends, you're teaching your teacher, you're teaching your family. So it's great. It's quite empowering.
Yes.
On a positive note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carmen.
Yeah, for us, it was, like I said, it was a bit bumpy for a while, and I was trying to find ways to empower Rosie to feel, to just own it. And, every kid wants to start a YouTube channel, and, that they're going to just be really bad channels. And I said to Rosie, why don't you take what you know and create a channel with that? And so she did. So she started a YouTube channel with our help 2 years ago, and it's called Gluten Free for You and Me. And she posts little reviews and recipes, and sometimes her sister will star in it. And sometimes she gets frustrated by it, but then she looks at it in a new way and okay, I'm taking this seriously. And I think she's learned a lot from it, because it's, you see these YouTube channels that get 10,000 views that are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then you see the ones that really people put a lot of work into them. And so she puts some effort into it, and she's learned from that for sure.
I love that. So it's given her a confidence to talk about something on a big platform.
Yeah. However, she will not share her channel with her friends.
Oh. Tina, what about Charlotte?
Well, when she was diagnosed, she was only 4. So she was a little person anyway and developing.
Yeah.
into a force. She's like, it just became part of her, but she's always been strong. She's like a little mini me. She will voice her opinion whether you want it or not. She also has done I shouldn't say bunch, but a few YouTube videos as well with her older sister, because they've been doing videos and movies and stuff for ages. And I finally let them post a few. So they've been, they look up recipes, gluten-free recipes for kids, and they make them. And she's just involved in it because I try to let her make her decisions, because it doesn't always taste good, and it's not always a for sure this is going to taste good. So I want her to be involved and to tell me if she likes it. And if you don't like it, then what's the next thing we're going to do? Yeah. So she's very involved in her food, and she knows she can't read, but she knows enough to ask everybody. So that child is not shy. When the neighbors are giving out ice cream, she will ask, is it gluten-free? And if it doesn't say on it, I get a text from a mom or a dad. Can I give this? So she's a huge advocate for herself. I do not fear for her safety when she goes out, because if she's not sure, she won't eat it. And she's not embarrassed by it. And she's not angry about it. Like I'm still harboring the anger about my diagnosis. I'm dealing with it differently. She's just, I am Charlotte and I am gluten-free. So she's fine with it. And I'm hoping now when we go into grade 1, it's going to be a blended class. So she's going to have 2 of the kindergarten classes go into 1. And I'm hoping to be able to help her explain herself and get a new group of friends and help her move forward, and have no issues that way, but be able to do it more herself rather than me go in and tell everybody.
I'm very aware of our time, so I want to wrap up here pretty quickly, but I do want to ask you ladies one last question. And that is a birthday party question. So COVID is hopefully allowing us to have a few more get-togethers. What are your top, what are your top 3 tips for birthday parties, or even let's combine at birthday parties and play dates? What do you do for those kind of events? How do you handle it with your kids? Carmen, let's start with you this time.
Sure. So, I always, for birthday parties, obviously speak with the parents, and I'd say 50% of the time the parents want to get a treat for Rosie, and they will check to see where they could get that treat for her. And the other time we send along a cupcake or a small piece of cake, or even we've made mini cakes that she could then share with others as well. And, something homemade is often better than something purchased. So even if it's gluten-free, it's better than some of the birthday cakes that some of the kids have, which is a positive. And then I double check what other food items they might be serving, and try to send that along, or again, inform the parents about what a safe option would be. Rosie definitely prefers them to have it. That way she's not the kid coming to the party or play date with her own food. So that's one way, but just communicating with the parents and either bringing safe options or ensuring that safe options are there. And a lot of parents, like I said, are great. There's so many great, mini brownies that you can bring to a play date, or that the parents can purchase at the grocery store, that are delicious for any child. So it tends to work out.
Super. Tina, let's go to you.
I'm pretty much the same. We're early to the game. I did tell Charlotte that when you go, honey, like if it's not safe, like if it was with something else, or if it was in a bun, you can't take it out of a bun and then eat it, right? So I'll go through the rules with her. And if she's not sure, you can call me. And expectations that sometimes, honey, if yours is different, like it's okay. So you might not get the cake, but you might get a cupcake. Mm-hmm. So expectations are probably, if she goes into it knowing that I'm going to eat, but might not be the same. And I'm ready to send the cupcake if needed.
Lisa, what is your experience with parties, play dates?
I'm writing. As the girls are talking, I'm writing things down. Right. It was funny, I was just thinking back. So Lorelei was diagnosed in December of 2017. She was invited to 3 birthday parties that month, and I'm just dealing with this diagnosis. So what happened, I found, is that you have to step out of your comfort zone, and you have to become that parent. Obviously, he's clearly advocating for your kid. So you have to, like, when that little kind of proviso at the end of, like, if your child has a dietary restriction, you're suddenly, that's you, and you're so it's communication. Sorry, my point is communication 100%, and you become a very, very vocal in a very nice way. I agree that there at times, generally speaking, for a lot of the parties, Lorelei has been accommodated, and I love that word, accommodated. It makes me feel really happy inside.
Yes.
And if there's a situation where she can't be accommodated, because I don't expect that, we send food with her. Life goes on, but it's how you manage situations, and you become very good at communicating with, be it your friends, your server, whoever. You have to, I keep using the word advocate, but that's what it is. You're empowering knowledge to others so that they can understand why you are saying that, what celiac disease is, and why you are, why things have to be gluten-free for your child.
Yeah. Excellent points. Excellent points. And you know what? I mirror everything that each one of you said, and I don't really do anything differently. So I won't even add to that, because everything you guys said is bang on what I've done in the past and what I'll continue to do in the future. So listen, I want to thank you guys so very much for participating in this with me, and I hope that you'll do it again. I actually have as we've been chatting, I've been envisioning new topics of conversation, and one of them will be travel. I'd love to know how each of us handle family vacations. So that
to take a family vacation.
Yeah. Hopefully we can soon do something other than camping. One day we'll get on that plane again to go somewhere. So I would love to have a conversation about how we all handle that, because that's another really hot topic with our community. So thank you so much, each one of you, for taking the time out of your very busy lives. I know that each one of you are extremely busy mothers. So thank you so, so much. We really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to each one of you again.
You're very